Folks, today I've got Yerko back on the show talking about patriarchy. Now, I hope you liked the videos before. I had two posted on hierarchy. Now we're going to patriarchy. We're going to define patriarchy and then talk about at least one thing that was antithetical to patriarchy, which is chivalry and the messed up thing that chivalry has passed down. Now, I've done a lot of videos about chivalry, so I think if you guys have watched any of my videos, the 100 and some odd ones I got out there, you'll know something about chivalry. If not, I'll put a link here to something on chivalry. But we're going to go to patriarchy. And the next few videos will be on how patriarchy is biblical and not egalitarian nonsense that we hear all the time, even in some churches. Now, if you're liking this content, like, subscribe, put a comment below. I like comments. Give me some comments below. Let's get to it. Yerko, we've got patriarchy. I know we did hierarchy yesterday, and so patriarchy is a subject today.
The patriarchy, yeah.
And I know we touched on it some in the hierarchy, which is really good, but now we want to dive a little deeper into patriarchy specifically, which is kind of the taboo subject that you don't hear much about,
Yeah.
these days, right?
Yes. That's
So anyway, yeah, lead off with what do we see patriarchy starting in Genesis and then moving on through scripture?
yeah. So we see patriarchy. So first we have to define our term. So the term patriarchy means father rule, the rule or government of fathers. God is a father. He describes himself as a father throughout scripture,
Yeah.
and he governs the world through fathers.
Mm,
Right? Fathers in the home, fathers in the church, and fathers in the state, as we looked
mm.
at yesterday.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, so we see that from Genesis 2, where Adam, right, is given dominion over all of creation, including Eve. And that means that he governs or rules in God's name, as we mentioned, all of creation. So that means the world, the outside world,
Hmm.
um, and also his home, right? His family, his
Yeah.
wife, his children, and so on. So the word patriarchy is understood is the idea that men have the leadership or authority in society. So it's a society ruled by men. So men are heads of their homes, heads of households. Men also are have they rule in society, as in vocational work, politics, and different fields of knowledge,
Mm.
or building different things. Also military, so men
Leading them.
defend their people and so on. The way that this is, in practical terms, the way this is understood from a biblical perspective is that men have this authority, and also comes with responsibility to take initiative, right?
Mm.
So everything from the expectation, people still have this expectation that a man will initiate a relationship, for example.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
comes from this patriarchal paradigm from scripture. Now
Mm.
it's been completely twisted today, because since men don't actually have the authority, you have this weird situation where you have um, modern romantic women who want to have their cake and eat it too, right?
Uh,
So they want the men to take initiative, but they don't want them to have real authority over them.
you mean like once you are like engaged and married?
Yeah, so so you're supposed to take initiative, you're supposed to initiate,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you're supposed to defer to the woman. I think the most graphic way of picturing this is the utterly contradictory picture of a man who is initiating by proposing marriage on his knees.
Yeah, from Chivalry. There we get that, right?
Yeah, although although apparently from what I understand, because I used to read, I read some books from the early 20th century, and apparently this practice is not really that old. Yeah, so this practice of kneeling to propose is not really that old. Um,
Mm.
it wasn't done in the early 20th century when Grace Livingston Hill was writing her books,
Oh, really?
because it doesn't appear in any of them.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, at least in America. I don't know about Europe. So
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
the idea, yeah, so the idea of kneeling, it is a medieval practice, but it was done to pledge your loyalty to a liege lord, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these knights would would pledge themselves to a lord, right, or a king, going down on one knee and with a sword facing down, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what happened in the 20th century was you get this very twisted, also we can talk about this as well, um, with what was happening with feminism and other things like that. But
Mm.
you get this very very twisted and exaggerated form of chivalry where the man starts kneeling to propose marriage, which apparently was not done before. At the very least, from what I can determine, you might want to do your own research on that, but at the very least, it wasn't done until the second half of the 20th century.
Okay.
So it's extremely new. Probably came in along with the whole dating culture, which also came in the second half of the 20th century.
So that's defining patriarchy. That's defining it, and then talking about chivalry and how chivalry is antithetical to patriarchy, especially the way that we practice it today, which is just totally ridiculous the way that we practice chivalry. But it's always been ridiculous. But what hasn't been ridiculous ever is the fact that Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Post Millennial Man.